This is part 2. Now, where are you going to hunt a big buck during this period? Well, the best place is in its bedding area, because that's where he's going to be spending a lot of time. During the first few days that he's there, he's liable to be eating browse maybe within 100 feet of where he's been bedding. I don't know what kind of browse the deer in your hunting area eat, but whatever it is, that's what he's going to be eating. In farm areas, well, he'll probably be eating corn too that's close by, or alfalfa, or just hay in a pasture. And if it's wide open, he's going to only probably eat during nighttime hours. But up where I hunt, though he may feed alone close to his bedding area during normal hours that whitetails feed, pretty soon he's going to start moving further and further away from his bedding area to feed. And at this point, he'll definitely make use of other deer like radar wherever he goes. What I've learned during that second week, when they start moving away from their normal bedding area to feed, they will follow in the wake, follow the tracks of the nearest doe that lives and beds and feeds in her range that's closest to his bedding area. And he'll follow in their fresh tracks up to an hour after the doe has walked by. They might be with the doe, it might be within sight of the doe. It's more likely going to be within sight, like he'll be staying 100 yards back and watching that doe and listening. Or he might not show up for an hour. And I've had him show up an hour later along the trail of a doe and its fawn that were feeding through an area of, like, up in our area of red osiers or mountain maples or sugar maple saplings, their favorite browse in the area where I hunt. Or if you had white cedars, they're sure going to be feeding on white cedar boughs as well during that period. But at any rate, the place to be then is in the feeding area, the browse area, closest to that buck's bedding area. And this is a safer way to hunt. And I started to talk about that earlier, and I think I've mentioned it at other times as well. It's really difficult to hunt a big buck at its bedding area. And I've taken quite a few, but I took them because I knew what you had to do to make it successful. So let's go back to the bedding area. Let's say you went on a bedding area. In fact, I had a couple hunters write emails to me and wanted advice about how to hunt a bedding area for big bucks. And they both got big bucks this year and sent me pictures on the internet. And, it made me feel kind of good to see that it worked out well for them, because if they hadn't talked to me about this, they probably wouldn't have succeeded. But let's talk about why it's so hard to hunt them there. When a big buck goes to his bedding area, when breeding is going on, they bed with the does and estrus that they're with. But now he's back to his summer bedding area. He goes into it a certain way. He'll get well down into the area before he starts heading into it. He might be a couple 100 yards away when he starts. And if you were ever to trail a big buck in the snow that was heading to his bedding area, you'd see his tracks going along a fairly straight line. You don't know where, because you probably didn't realize he was heading to a bedding area. But let's say it was at 10 o'clock in the morning. A fairly straight line was heading into the wind. Then all of a sudden that buck starts going from side to side. He'll walk about 5 yards this way and 5 that way, and pushing 10 yards over there and 10 yards over there, and he's zigzagging. And the reason he's zigzagging like that is because he's sniffing air currents drifting to him from his bedding area. And he's doing this to check, to make sure there's nothing dangerous in the vicinity of his bedding area well before he gets there. He's checking all the scents that are drifting downwind toward him. So he's zigzagging. Now, in the old days, I didn't realize what's going on. I'd follow the truck this way and that way, not realizing that, gee, I'm getting close to a big buck's bedding area. But you still might be 100 yards away at that point. And then as he does this, he'll continue along a fairly straight line, but zigzagging from side to side. And then you'll come to a tree that's fallen down and all kinds of little branches, dead branches sticking up. And he'll jump over that, and he'll jump through a couple places where there are all kinds of dead branches laying around the ground. Bucks love to bed where there's a lot of windfalls, trees that are falling. They love to bed in places like that for this reason. But he'll leap through those, and he'll go through this dense brush, and he's still going along a fairly straight line. And this goes on a little ways, and then he'll come to a point where all of a sudden he'll turn to the right or the left and start circling one side or the other like that. It'll be going way, making a kind of half circle. And if you didn't realize what was going on, you still think, well, he must change his mind, he's going this way. Now he's going crosswind of all things. Then you keep following that trail, and then pretty soon he's going downwind. And you walk maybe 20 yards, and then you come up, and there's this great big bed in the snow, empty bed, and it looks like it just, it's really fresh, like this bed was just used, and it was. But he got you coming. You see, let's go back to the start again. He's come along a trail where he's just going along a fairly straight line. Well, that trail is going through an area where he can lay down, facing downwind, and see you coming. It might be just little openings here and there, but he'll be able to see you coming. That's his first trap. I call that a sight trap. And then, he's doing this zigzagging, and that can go through some of those open areas as well, and he'll be able to see where he's laying down. And then you start jumping over this windfall and going through brush and maybe deep grasses that are really thick that you couldn't get through without making noise, breaking sticks, twigs snapping, or a lot of loud brushing of your clothing on the brush or the deep grasses. And that's another trap he set up. He set up hearing traps. He's going to make you make noises if you're going to follow his trail. So now he's got you a second way. He saw you coming, now he hears you coming. And by the time he hears you, he knows, you're getting kind of close. Got to be thinking about what I'm going to do here. Well, you keep going, and pretty soon the trail turns to the side, and he makes kind of a semicircle going on. He's got you there, because guess what? You're upwind. Now he has a scent trap sitting there, and he's upwind of where you are. So he got you three ways already before you even got close to where he was. He saw you coming, he heard you coming, and then he smells you coming, because he's downwind of you at that point. And he's laying in probably thick brush or deep grasses, but he can put his head up once in a while. When whitetails sleep, they don't sleep for hours at a time like humans. They can close their eyes, put their head down even on the ground, especially if one would be hidden, and slumber, but usually for no more than about 15 minutes at a time. And about every 15 minutes, they raise their head, look around, listen, sniff the air, oh, everything's fine, and then they put their head down again, and that's the way they rest. Well, probably another thing he did when he first got there, he just got done feeding, he might spend the next half hour chewing cud before he puts his head down. Whitetail's got all these different stomachs, four chambers. When they first feed, they're just filling up the first chamber. It's going to be their food for the half day. But it's hard to digest because it's kind of chunky, big chunks of wood or big wads of grass or leaves or whatever. When he lays down, then he'll upchuck those things. It's funny to see it happen. You'll see this, looks like a baseball-sized mass of something going up the throat on the buck. He's just laying there, all of a sudden, here's this ball going up and goes up to his mouth. Well, he just regurgitated a chunk of what he ate in the morning or in the evening. And in order to digest that properly, he's got to chew it up real good into small pieces and mix it with saliva. Saliva contains enzymes that help in the digestive process. And when that's done, it goes back down in the stomach, and this smoother stuff makes its way through the rest of its GI tract and is digested. And they're pretty good digestion when you think about it. Buck or any droppings of deer are rather small little pellets, so they do a pretty good job of digesting woody things they eat in the wintertime. So, when you're out scouting early in the year, and let's say you're fortunate, you're looking for buck bedding areas. These are in tough places. Most hunters won't even say, they'll look at, oh, I don't want to walk through all that thick stuff over there, and all those trees down, things like that. No, that's too hard to do. They'll just walk on by and never know there's been a buck bedding in that area down there, unless they get down in there and, gee, there's a big antler over there. Oh, there's another one over there. And on that one, hey, this looks good. Let's go look this over. You get down there and maybe find 6 of them within an acre. Some of them are close together, maybe 10 feet apart. And you look for these other, oh, there's a lot of big buck droppings in here. And oh, there's some beds and things like that. You find that while scouting. Well, if you find it while scouting, it better be 2 or 3 weeks early, because when you walk into a buck bedding area and the buck knows it, whether he was there when he got there or he came back to it after feeding and he comes in there, oh, it's fresh smell of humans in here. That buck is, this is the safest place that buck knows, and all of a sudden it's not so safe anymore. It's like a burglar coming in your house, all of a sudden your house doesn't seem so safe anymore after that happened. That buck is liable to abandon his range for a while, and certainly that bedding area for a while. And after maybe up to a week or 2 weeks later, he'll come back. And they can stay away that long because of something like that. His bedding area has been invaded by a human. He'll come back and sniff around, and gee, there's no more human scent here. It doesn't look like that human ever came back here again. I guess it's okay. And he'll sleep there a couple days, and yeah, it's fine here, no problem. So anyway, but now why, bucks are the most elusive whitetails in the woods. They're the most difficult to hunt. They're the most alert. They're the most experienced of whitetails. They're the best at identifying and avoiding hunters, better than any other deer in the woods. That's why you don't see very many of them, much less take one. They're so good at it, in fact, that you can hunt for 60 years and always take 2 bucks in that class in all those years. So they're pretty good. Now, if that buck discovers you or your scents in his bedding area, anytime during the hunting season, he's gone. He's not going to use that anymore. In fact, he might abandon his entire home range for the rest of the hunting season. I'm not going back there. I don't know where to hunt or sleep where it's going to be safe. So I'm going to stay off range here where hunters never go. Maybe a big swamp or a wooded but very wet bog or something like that. But anyway, I'm not going back there for a while. So once you goof up at the buck's bedding area, he's gone. You can stand hunt all over the rest of the country, stay 100 yards or more away from a buck bedding area, the buck is going to stay there. But once you screw up, taking away the safety of that buck's bedding area, he's gone for the season, every time. Or at the very least, he'll be nocturnal from then on as well. Anyway, you don't want to goof up there. If you're going to hunt a buck bedding area, let's say you only have 1 or 2 more days to hunt, go ahead and hunt there. That's it. This is your last chance to give it a try. Or you plan ahead. You say, well, gee, I know where there's a buck bedding area, and that's a big one there. But unless you're very skilled at stand hunting, maybe you should wait till the last day or 2 of your hunting season, the period that you're planning to hunt there. Otherwise, you're going to be better off if you hunt other places. And I'll tell you more about other places in my next YouTube presentation. This is the end of part 2 of phase 4 of the Whitetail Rut, and there's some really exciting stuff to come, so be sure to watch part 3.